let me tell you that there is a very, very important and crucial issue which does not find a solution. How you organize governance in civil society. That is a very central issue. And unfortunately, this is an issue where there is a ongoing debate, but practically I don't see any solution in a short time. Civil society is a collection of people who joins together on different issues in which they share a vision or a concern. You have people who join together on the issue of climate. You have people who join together on the issue of human rights. You have people who join together on the issue of inequalities. You have people who join together on racial discrimination, women, and so on. All these organizations make together the civil society. These organizations, generally speaking, are not structured, are people who put together and work together, but without a juridical and structure or something of that way. Why? Because the culture after May 68, you know, the French May 68. Okay, after that French May 68, a wave went through the young people. Young people refused authority norms, regulations. The result is that I give you the example of the World Social Forum, which is one of the largest gathering of people. We had at every meeting about 100,000 people, which is not a minor affair. But the statute that we had to run the World Social Forum was based on three ideas. One, we don't want to get into the trap of a political party, because political parties are a bureaucratic system of power. We are not going to fall into that. So there will not be political party inside the World Social Forum. Progressive or not, doesn't matter. We don't want any political party. Two, we are all equal. Nobody can speak on behalf of the other. So we cannot elect a board, we cannot elect any structure. Three, therefore, we must take our decision by consensus. It means by 100% unanimity. Now, if you look to all the big movements in the past of Occupy Wall Street, of any of these movements which came up until today with women, the movement of women, Me Too, or the thing on climate, they never structured themselves. They were just movement of people meeting together. The result is that all these movements never went into something durable because they were made on the impetus of feelings, of action, but they never structured themselves. Occupy Wall Street, again, everybody was equal, decisions were taken for unanimity, and so on. The result is that Wall Street later slowly faded away and disappeared. All these movements have been faded away, have been disappearing, because they do not structure themselves. In other words, they do not take instrument of governability, because they think that governability comes from the political field and it's a trap. and everybody wants to be equal, and so on. The result is that, in my view, we have a problem which has no solution, that all what we do on global issues is because we want to change laws and this in practice about the issue we care. On climate, we want to fight for a different climate policy. Now, who decide what change to make in the climate? The governments, or better, the parliaments. In other words, the political forces. As we do not want to have any relation with the political forces, all our fight, all our debate, all our ideas does not get into the system. And if it does not get into the system, it does not change the system. Greta Thunberg was the spokesman of the movement because she started the movement and she took that place. But she was never elected the spokeswoman of the climate movement. Nobody is elected spokeswoman of Me Too. Nobody was elected spokesperson of the Black Lives Matter. It was the people who started to speak, and they became spokesperson de facto. But the problem is that these things are extremely fragile, and they do not get into the system because they have a different nature, language, and formula. So all the effort that the civil society has done in the last, since it came up in the 80s, well, basically didn't bring much change because the political parties ignored them. The parliament ignored them, and so we don't get very far. If we structured ourselves in movements with resolution, with an action that went directly into the system, we could have influenced the system much, much more. But we do not want in civil society to be like the system. So there is a problem which has no solution.
Hmm.
If we don't find a way to become able to communicate in the system, but we only speak in the street, well, the political forces have no problem to ignore us. And that is a general question. Young people today have very little importance in the system because there are fewer in neutralized country than the old people. The old people have a number of facilities. For instance, in Italy, we go to the cine with a discount. We go to museum free. We have a number of things. The third generation, the third age, has a number of advantages that is not given to young people. And laws are more and more geared to old people because they vote than young people that don't vote. That is something happening everywhere. There would have not been Brexit if the young people did vote, because they were all against Brexit. But they didn't vote, so Brexit came out. And then you had this manifestation in the streets of young people protesting. So there is a problem here. Either we find a way of governance that is able to represent us, but it's also able to have an impact in the system, or the system will completely ignore us and will continue. There was a very famous declaration at the second World Social Forum by Soros. Soros said, boys, we are very happy that you engage yourself in civil society, We are happy that you help all people in the hospital, keep local museum open with volunteers, do a lot of work, which in a sense make the state system more able to function. Because you take things which the state should do, the radar not does, and you intervene as volunteer to develop things. So we are very happy. And you are very busy in what you are doing, and we do what we do. So thank you very much, because in fact you are helping us. I found that declaration extremely cynical, but a very good declaration, because if you are a multimillionaire, well, the people who go to do volunteer job, fantastic. They reduce the inefficiency of the system and they don't get anything changed.
Mm.